Hey guys, the Super Review Show for another episode of Why You Should Watch. This is the show where I break down movies and TV shows that have significant meaning to me, or the movie and TV show is just that good. Definitely check out this franchise no matter what. It's a phenomenal franchise overall. Star Trek. We're talking today specifically about the movies. I did a Why You Should Watch video for Star Trek, the original series, and Star Trek, the Next Generation as well. Go check those videos out on our channel as well. Please check them out. But today, I'm specifically talking about the movies from 1979 until 1991. The original series cast from the motion picture to The Undiscovered Country. I have seen all of these movies a lot over the past couple of years. I got rid of my Paramount Plus subscription recently because I'm trying to cut back on my finances and save a lot of money. Because outside of doing this, I have a life, I have a job. That's what I do. That being said, to basically paraphrase everything here, I'm not going to go super in depth with it, but if you can look this up on your own. But basically, Star Trek, the motion picture, is a motion picture because of Star Wars. Look that up. It's the truth. Literally, because Star Wars came out, and in '77 they were planning a second Star Trek TV show, and then Star Wars came out and they said, screw it, we're making a movie. That's literally why it's called Star Trek, the motion picture. So Star Wars made Star Trek into a motion picture franchise, and there was a lot of movies they put out. The odd-numbered Star Trek movies are very not good, to be honest with you. But the even-numbered Star Trek movies are phenomenal. Phenomenal pieces of art. Star Trek, I'm going to just break it down one by one. All right, Star Trek, the motion picture. I fell asleep, I think, 3 times watching this movie. But if you're a Star Trek fan, I feel like even the hardcore Trekkies know that this is a bad movie. Some people are probably disagreeing with me on that, but it's just a slow-paced movie. Just like purple clouds in space, ridiculous. The V'ger, stuff like that. Anyways, but Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, is probably my favorite Star Trek movie out there. It's just an incredible film with Ricardo Montalban as Khan. I love that movie so much. When it got re-released in theaters in 2022, I went to go see Star Trek II, the motion picture, Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, back in theaters. Phenomenal, arguably the best Star Trek movie out there. Hands down, Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, best Star Trek movie. Come at me. Just saying. Star Trek III, The Search for Spock, it's not bad. It's just not up to par with, 2, 4, and 6, in my opinion. It's good, but it's not up to par in that Star Trek standard, if you will. It's Search for Spock. So, just for a quick side note, when I watch the trailers for Star Trek II, because at the end of Star Trek II, spoilers if you haven't seen Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, Spock dies at the end of the movie. He's like, "I will always be your friend, Jim." In the hatch there. Basically, they have to go find, and then they launch one to a planet, and then, lo and behold, he doesn't actually die, he's just unconscious or whatever. And then the Star Trek 3, the coming attractions in the mid-'80s, it's like, oh, Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock, he's alive, and Leonard Nimoy directed it himself, too. Now that's Star Trek 3 in a nutshell, really, and the Klingons come after them. Christopher Lloyd's one of the Klingons, actually, believe it or not, just saying. But then Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home, was unbelievably great. I watched it for the first time with my mother, who actually watched it in theaters too. Quick backstory on that movie, really brief. Star Trek 4, they go back to 1986 when the movie came out, and because they have to go back in time to save the whales, to go time travel. It's a really, it sounds stupid on paper, but if you watch the movie, it really makes a lot of sense. It's really, really a fun movie to go see. Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home is great movie. And you think, all right, they're going back on their upward momentum, right? Nope. Star Trek V, The Final Frontier comes out. Terrible. When I tell you that the odd-numbered Star Trek movies are, except for really 3, the odd 1 and 5 are, boring. And ironically, William Shatner directed Star Trek V, and then that's why they scrambled. The guy who directed Star Trek II, they brought him back for Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. And that kind of rounds out, and that's a great movie, my God. The story about the Klingon High Council and stuff like that. They're trying to make peace with the Klingons, and just a brilliant movie. Directed by the same guy who directed Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, directed Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. This is I'm not talking about the Next Generation films. I'll probably do a why you should watch those movies later on. But the Star Trek franchise film-wise, came about in 1979 with Star Trek: The Motion Picture, and it wasn't received very well at the time. It was a slow movie. It's just, I remember watching it when it was on Netflix, right? Remember those days? And I watched. I'm excited to watch Star Trek. Boring. And like, I would consider myself a pretty big fan of Star Trek. I really enjoy the franchise. I love the concept of it. I love the ideas of it. I love the different aliens you could see in the franchise. But I have to admit, this movie is boring. It's just boring. So 1, 3, and 5 are the odd-numbered Star Trek movies. They're not very good. But the original 2, 4, and 6 are out of this world. Haha, pun intended, right? Brilliant set of films. If you collectively put them together, it's a really solid set of films. A solid 6 films, truthfully, that they did over the course of the 70s and the 80s into the 90s, early 90s to be exact. Just a really fun set of films. And I challenge anyone out there who watches this video to go and watch Star Trek: The Motion Picture. Just literally just do a binge-a-thon of the Star Trek movies with William Shatner, of Captain Kirk and Spock and McCoy and all them, and Nichelle Nichols as Lieutenant Uhura. Like, I challenge anyone to watch those 6 films over the course of 2 days. You might actually have a brain freeze. Like, it's that crazy. But needless to say, they are very fun movies. If you're looking for a different style of sci-fi, if you're looking for a different style of like if you've only seen the Star Trek of the TV shows recently, like Discovery or Picard, go back and watch the original movies that they did back in the 70s and 80s. And Discovery Country was 1991. But if you go back and watch those movies, you're going to see how the franchise has come from, how it's been a long time coming for this franchise. Just a really solid set of films. And like I said, for me personally, 2, 4, and 6 are phenomenal. 3 is pretty good. But 1 and 5 are just bad, just not good movies, and they get bashed a lot by a lot of film critics online. I'm not a critic, I would say, but I would definitely call myself a fan of the franchise nonetheless, needless to say. Anyways, I guess, what do you think? Have you seen the Star Trek films from 1 to 6? Please let me know what you guys are thinking over there in the comment section below. Love to hear what you guys have to say. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications and follow us on our social media pages as well. Simply at The Super Review Show. But for all of your why you should watch videos and many more, keep locked on The Super Review Show. The J-Man is off to rock and live long and prosper.